Hey, Flosstube friends, welcome to episode 7 of our Flosstube series. I'm Ina, and I'm being joined today by my friend Jana. And today we're talking about something that is very near and dear to my heart. Can you guess what it is? As a former librarian and passionate needleworker, I have two passions that are equally strong. Are books, the other is needlework. And so when needlework and books come together, I'm in heaven. So when we started talking about this as a potential floss tube, there were all kinds of things that came up. And there are a multitude of ways we could have approached this. To narrow down this huge category, what we have done is we have looked at the current group correspondence courses lightning rounds, which feature a variety of techniques that are currently available. And you can check those out on the EGA website. And we asked the teachers to curate a list of books, what they would recommend to support students in their classes. And from that, we whittled down the list, we added some things. And so today we are going to go through this curated list from experts and talk about books in general in terms of evaluating a book, as well as a very specific list of the books and why we feel they are suggested by these teachers. I gotta say, when I pick up a book, the first thing I do is flip through it. And what I would say is if the book speaks to you and it brings you joy, it's your book. A lot of these books, we have several on each topic, and the idea is it should be guided by personal preference. So take a look, flip through it, look at what you want out of this book and see if it gives you what you want and need. Presentation is somewhat different. There's a different style in older books versus newer books. And so we're going to highlight some of those differences, and hopefully you will add to your collection. And now, and now without further ado,
Speaking of collections, I'm looking at the books behind you and I'm like, got that one, got that one. Oh, I missed that one. Got that one, got that one, got that one. Yeah, there's another one I missed because I don't know about everybody out there, but I have literally hundreds of embroidery books of all stamps. I've got books on Stumpwork. I've got books on needlepoint. I've got books on counted thread. I've got books on samplers. The list goes on.
so behind me are one of the shelves of my personal collection, and that's one of 8 shelves that are chock full of books. Some of them are double stacked.
Only 8? Oh, double stacked.
Yes, some of them. Obviously, the
Whoa.
shelf behind me, the books are too big to double stack, but I do occasionally stuff books down sideways.
Do you also put them on top of the books that are standing up if you've got
Oh,
a little
yeah. Oh,
space?
yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I do that all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I need another room in my condo just for books.
That would be one of my ideal dream houses would be to have a really good library with a
Yeah,
really good sound system and a really comfortable stitchy spot. Surrounded by books, stitching away. Oh, doesn't that sound lovely?
great lighting.
Yes.
Maybe somebody to bring you food so you didn't have to.
Well, now you just want the impossible.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course, we're dreaming, right? So anything's possible.
Yeah. So as we move on to the books, we're going to take a look at just a handful of books in these areas because these areas address where the lightning rounds are at. And we'll take a look at them one by one. Now, this is not by any means an exhaustive list. No way, no how. So if we take a look at white work, which is the first one, Jane Ellen Balzuweit's Touch of Fall which is Dresden work, is the piece that is on lightning round for her right now. And you can see the lovely white work. This is Dresden, a little combination of some pulled thread, some drawn work on a very fine ground. Another example of it, which Jane Ellen also administers, is the Pulled Stitches Clover by Marion Schooler. And this one is all pulled thread. And some of the books that she has suggested, you have the first book.
I do. I do. This was a book recommended to me by a teacher of a class I took, Danish Pulled Thread Embroidery by Esther Fangel, Winckler, and Miss Madison. We'll just go with that. It's an older book. It was published in, and I should know this, I apologize, 1977. So for those of you who were alive and well, and maybe even an adult in 1977, you know, it was before the internet, before computers, before cell phones, and before information was available easily. Not much digital stuff going on. So, as with most older books, there are black and white pictures, almost no color. There are some very good stitch diagrams in this book, as you can see. And so this is what ends up looking like this and this, depending on what you're doing. So there are tons of stitch diagrams, and they're all wonderful.
You know,
There
I have to say, let me interrupt here. When I
yeah,
was first learning how to do pulled thread embroidery, this is the book that I went to because you could see the photograph. If you'll hold that up again,
yes.
you could see the photograph of what the stitch was going to look like. And then on the other page, she's got some directions as to how to create that stitch. And that was invaluable. Um, the other thing is, even though it was published in 1977, it's a Dover book, so it's readily available.
And it's inexpensive.
Oh, yes, that's the key right there. But it was a great book. I still pull it out every now and then.
And the nice thing is she also has pictures of, and they won't show up very well, so I'll apologize for not showing them. But she has the last probably quarter of the book, she has lovely examples of models using those stitches. And she talks about the size and the ground fabric, because you can do pulled work on almost any kind of fabric. And it's not always, I mean, I guess mostly it's a counted technique,
Hmm.
but it doesn't, eh, yeah, I would say it's counted.
Yeah, it is. Another book that Jane Ellen was talking about in particular, and this is also one that I'd used too early on. This one by Moira McNeil was published even a little bit earlier, back in 1972. And you notice I've got some little sticky notes here because there are some pages that I wanted to highlight. This cover has changed over the years, so they've updated it so it looks like this. This too is readily available. Both the book that Ina showed and this book are available in EGA's library for checkout. So if we look at the table of contents, you can see that she's really covered a lot of bases. So if you're looking for a specific stitch, you'll be able to find it in here. And if we go to one of her pages, what I liked about this, and I learned from this, is how something can look depending on the pull and how many threads, how many strands you used. And so here's one no pull, and here's one with pull. It made a big difference to me. It kind of opened up my eyes. She even has a section on designing pulled thread embroidery uh, pieces. And then she has another section on edgings, which I found interesting too. And she does talk about mitering a corner because edgings also imply maybe hem stitching. And there we've
Yeah.
got some hem stitching directions. So we've got this one, we've got another one. So there's some great directions and pieces of information in this book likewise. So this is Pulled Thread Embroidery by Moira McNeil.
I
The
also have that
next
book.
one that we wanted to talk about is this one. And to me, this one is golden. It was self-published by Mary Fry uh, back in the late 70s, around 1978. And I can't show all of this. It's a full size. It's like a letter size book. And what I love about this book, first of all, she's got this great sampler showing all these different stitches and indicating where I can find that stitch, which page number I can find that stitch on. So if I like the look of a stitch, I can go to that page. But one of the things that you run into when you do pulled thread work is that not every stitch fits the space that you want to put it in. So when she shows you how to do a stitch, in most cases, she also shows you an example of what the compensation would look like, which I know is a big bugaboo for a lot of stitchers who do pulled thread work.
It
And of course,
is.
she's got her picture up here. She's also telling you what it was done on and what it was done with and what the count was and what kind of tension to use on that. So I love this book. This to me, if I had to choose one pulled thread book, I probably would stick with this simply because it has such great basic information.
And it's well laid out. I think that's the other thing. So text, organization, text, photos and diagrams, but also how it's laid out. How easy is it to follow for you? Because we're all a little different. So when evaluating a book, make sure those three things work best for you. We've just presented you three different options.
I love this book. This
I
has
do.
a permanent place. This too is available through the EGA Library. So all you have to do is just go to the EGA Library on the website. If you can't find it readily, you just put library in the search box and it'll pop right up. You can search by title, you can search by author. And when you check out a book, you literally put it in the cart and then you check it out like you're signing up for a class or the virtual lecture series. So, for our next section, because we know there are more pulled thread books out there, but remember, we're kind of shortening this up. So, we talked about the white work books. Now we're going to switch and gears and go to black work. Catherine Jordan's group correspondence course that's on Lightning Round is called Finding Time. It is a combination of Zentangle, and you can see Zentangle, especially down here in the drawings that are inside the little booklet, and Blackwork. And you can see the Blackwork is here. You can see some of it here. A piece that fascinates me, this one, the checkerboard sampler by Father Max Polly, is in EGA's collection, which is a fascinating piece. It's huge. It's about 376 stitches high and 376 stitches wide. Lots of blackwork squares in there. And if you look at it closely, you'll see that there are patterns that maybe you have not seen before. So it's really cool. So I'm going to stop my share and I'm going to go to our first book. Do you have this book, Ina?
I probably do. I just don't have it with me at the moment. I have about a dozen Blackwork books. The most recent one I purchased was the Zimmerman book, which is also comb bound. Lots of
I think
patterns.
that one is in EGA's library likewise. I think I saw that on the list.
Probably,
Yeah, when
probably.
I was looking up books in EGA's library collection, I think that one popped up. But back in the again, this goes back to the 70s. Some books that are really, really good books just merit the test of time here. But
Mhm.
Mary Gostelow wrote quite a number of embroidery books. This one is on blackwork. And one of the interesting things about what she did was she tended to focus a lot on history. And here she's got a whole page on the history of Blackwork. And if we thumb through it, we've got this photo here of Catherine of Aragon, more discussion. So she does emphasize, she's got quite a number of pages about the history of Blackwork. So if you are into that, this is a great place to find good information. Then towards the back, she too has a section on designing Blackwork. She's not real heavy into the execution of the patterns. She has some, but she's not really telling you how to execute it. I think there's a certain amount of, you must already know this, which is why we have multiple books. And then this last section is just more patterns. And you know what? You can never have enough patterns, can you, Ina?
Mm-mm. No, I'm looking at those. I've used some in projects. I recognize a number of them. Does she go into shading at all?
Um, a little bit, and you can see some of the shading in some of the pieces, but not necessarily in the traditional sense that we often see it. Now, here's some right here in this section
Okay,
where
yeah.
you can see it went from a lighter, it's the same pattern, lighter, but then it went to heavier and more dense. So yeah, you've got some shading in here, but it's not a specific discussion.
Okay. There are so many things you can do with black work. You can create
Oh
some
yeah.
wonderful images.
Oh, it gets to be very rhythmic and a lot of fun.
Mhm.
This one,
Ah,
oh, I love this book.
I do
And
too.
she's got some pieces on here. Talk about shading. Look at this.
Hmm.
Or down here at the very bottom.
Hmm.
I've taken a handful of classes with Becky, although it's not on Blackwork, and she's an excellent teacher. And when you look in here, here's the table of contents for this book. So she's got several patterns in here. It's not by any means exhaustive. It'd be impossible, but look at this. She does have an entire section on shading.
Hmm.
So if you're doing, say, I would think a master craftsman, when you get to Blackwork on the counted thread, you probably need to refer to something about shading because you will probably be required to. So the next one, look at this sampler that she put together here. I mean, all these patterns are
Wouldn't those
just
make
awesome.
wouldn't those make great chessboard squares?
Yes. And as I'm looking at Father Polly's checkerboard, I'm wondering if any of these patterns are in his piece because he's got, I forget how many squares. He just has a lot of squares. That's just a big piece. So here's an example of what she has. Now, she does not have it numbered. So if you are looking to try to make it reversible, you're going to have to refer to a different part of the book so that you can figure out what the path might be. But if this is the chart for it, then this is how it looks when it is executed. And she's got another page over here, likewise. And then here's where she's talking about the shading. And this particular part is the technique of simply changing your thread thickness. So she's showing you step by step, which I really, really appreciate on her part. Then back here, she's talking about using metallics in your black work. There's another sampler using color, which
Mm.
Father Polly did. He had
Yes.
some squares that were black and some that were red, which gave it that checkerboard look. So this is Becky Hogg's book on blackwork. The first one that I showed you, Mary Gostelow's book, is in EGA's library, but this one for Becky Hoggs, it is not. However, readily available online because it's a fairly current book. This one was published in 2010, so it's reasonably current. So, how many blackwork books did you say you had?
No, too many. too many. But
No, no, no. The
can you
words are
ever have,
not too many. It's not enough. You can
well,
never have it.
well, I look at it this way. Every time someone says too many, it's like, no, my problem is not having too many books, but not having enough storage, too little
Uh,
storage.
yeah. I keep adding bookcases, and I think I have finally reached the limit of bookcases I can have in this place.
Oh
You,
no.
you can see I've got a bookcase over here. Now, those are not needlework books. Those are history books, actually, which is another passion of mine. I don't really have any books on this because these are all projects, which is a sad commentary. But
Hmm.
I have one, two, three, four. I've got about five bookcases in my dining room. I've got three in my living room. I've got two and a half in my master bedroom. I've got about two in my guest bedroom. And out in my veranda, I have, well, we won't discuss my veranda. I think the kitchen and the bathrooms are the only one places that do not have bookcases.
Okay.
It's either a passion or an illness or both. I'm not sure.
Well, I call it an occupational hazard.
Well, for you,
For
yes, but I
me,
was not
yes.
a librarian. Yeah, but I have an app on my phone where
Uh-huh.
I have, if I get a new book, it will read the ISBN number, and then all I have to do is edit the information that it brings up and it adds to it. So theoretically, wherever I go, if I see a book, I can make sure, do I have that book or not? Now, does that prevent me from getting duplicates? No, because if I fail to check that app, yeah, how many times have you bought duplicate books?
Oh, I bought duplicates of almost every needlework item. Um, and you're right, even if you're diligent about building your database and maintaining it, which I'm pretty good at, the final step is you have to check it. And my downfall is,
Not checking.
I find a really good used book sale on eBay or something, and I don't always check. I don't take the time to check, or I'm in a bookstore and I'm excited. It's a used bookstore. I find something, it's like, oh, yes. And then did I check? No. So do I go home and find that I already have it? Yes. So I have a good friend who also loves needlework and books, and she has been the beneficiary of that.
Nice.
Yeah.
I sometimes it's a combination of factors where you buy the duplicate because maybe like you said, you're in a used bookstore and you find one that is in pristine condition
Mhm.
at a really reasonable price. You know you got to have it,
Yeah.
and you just get excited and you don't check. So, do you have a database of your books?
My books I have on Goodreads. It's
Okay.
an app, and it has a scanning function, or you can enter the ISBN or the title and find it. Now, sometimes needlework books, especially if they're self-published or were small batch printing, before records were well kept, you won't necessarily find it. But for the vast majority of them, and I think they're building their database and increasing it, you can just scan. At this point, I just scan the cover and it often pops up. So go
Can
ahead.
you add a book manually if they don't have it
Yes,
in their database? Okay.
yes, yes. Um,
Okay.
it doesn't happen very often anymore. I
Well,
mean, I've been doing that for.
mine is an app called Book Buddy.
Oh, okay, I've heard of it.
Yeah, so Book Buddy it resides on my phone because
Okay.
I'm not taking a computer with me where when I go to a bookstore by any means, but at least I don't have to get online. But Book Buddy has everything in it. I can rate a book. I can categorize a book. When it pulls it in, it tells me what category I'm assuming some librarian decided it was going to
Right.
be. But then there's another section where I can put it in my own categories.
So Goodreads also has what's known as shelves. And when you pull up a book, you mark it red, and then you can add shelves. So I have books I own. I have needlework library book, my needlework library. And then there's all kinds of fiction genres and subgenres. Um, because, well, occupational hazard again, I read a lot. At
You
least
know,
I try.
I know we're going to try to put this list of books into below it probably in the comments if it doesn't fit in the
Mhm.
description. But I think we also need to add in Goodreads because that's a
Mhm.
website. Is it free?
Yes,
You just need a login, right?
right. You
Now, are
set up
there
an
ads
account, it's
on,
free.
do they have ads on their website?
No, maybe. I've
That's
never
interesting.
noticed. I've
Okay.
never noticed. Now, I've been doing this since I was in library school, and I graduated in 2010. So I would imagine I've been on Goodreads 2008, 9, or 10. That's when I started.
It's a long time.
Yeah, it
And I
is.
know that, and I know Book Buddy. Now I have it on an iPhone. I would be surprised if it's not available for Android as well. And I got it through my App Store, and
Hmm.
there is a paid version. And I went ahead and I paid for it because I wanted to open up all the features because I wanted to have all the information for the books that I have.
Hmm.
Books that I've given away, I've kept in there, and I've created a new category for it. So if I want to find out, have I ever read that book, but it's maybe not active in here, I can do a search on that category and find out which ones that I have had that I no longer have.
That's
So
rather
I
brilliant. So you don't keep buying books that you don't need, that you
exactly.
decided they're not your favorite in that category.
Yeah. So for example, it's not a needlework book, but I like the Louise Penny Inspector
Oh, of course.
Gamache mysteries.
Oh, yeah.
And now when I read one of the mysteries, which I'm doing in order. Do I keep it when I'm finished? No, probably not, because I need to make room for other mysteries and other books and other needlework books. So, but that list is going to be ever growing, and I'd hate to tell you how many I have in here. It's probably a couple thousand. And you can back it up, which I also like.
Yes. So because I also use a Mac, I can access Goodreads from all my devices,
Hmm.
including pulling up information. So it is on my phone. I can scan books on my phone. They show up no matter where I look, whether it's my iPad or my computer, whatever is most convenient at the moment.
Cool.
Yeah.
I have a suspicion that Goodreads might be even better than BookBuddy because BookBuddy um, resides just on that device. So if I wanted it on my
Oh,
iPad, it would be on my iPad. But if I added a book through my phone, it would not automatically show up on my iPad. That's where
oh.
Goodreads might really come in handy. I may have to make a change. Wonder if
Well, I
it
can
will
certainly look
import
at it.
well, I wonder if it'll import my library because I don't want to have to re-enter all of that, not those hundreds and hundreds of books
That's
manually.
a good question. I don't know.
I may have to investigate that.
And
There's
be
nothing
sure
like
and
a
let us
little,
know. Update the comments.
well, it's nothing like a little enabling, you know?
Well, of course, that's what we're good at.
Well, yeah.
The score
So
is now
moving,
Jana 10, Ina 2.
not yet. No, I think we're neck and neck.
You think?
So
Okay.
yeah, moving along. Let's see. I needed to share this little guy again. Here we go. So this is where we left off.
Hmm.
And now we're going to move on to mixed media. Mixed media is Laura Smith's specialty. If you are into mixed media, Laura is your person. And she has embroidery with mixed media as her group correspondence course that is on lightning round right now. And these are pieces from two of her students, Lynette May, and I'm probably going to say her last name wrong, Mayton or Matten?
Mayton, I thought. Mayton.
Mayton,
Yeah.
okay, and Katie Avram. I mean, I've run the group correspondence course for this for the region, and what people make out of all of these fabrics and paints and other things, it's just mind-boggling. I'm sure that these two are stunning in person.
Hmm.
That's the problem with a photograph. You just can't see the dimensionality and the sparkle and the
Right.
detail that some of these produce. So if you are interested in experimenting with your fabric and fibers, try this one. Now, neither Ina nor I do this kind of work. We're primarily counted, correct?
Yes, although I do dabble in some surface, and I have done this a couple of
Mhm.
times, usually with a Catherine Jordan class, and I've done some painting and then stitching around it. And I have always been fascinated with her maps, and I have one where you sort of paint the coastline and a few structural elements, and then you stitch basically a map of wherever it is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, so, as the librarian, I am going to take these on um, because since neither of us own any books in this technique, um,
Mm-hmm.
uh, there were two suggested. And so I got on Amazon and I got on some other resource websites. And they both look like dynamite titles. Now, these are both from the information is from the publisher. You might be able to find them on the back of the book. I don't know. These are both available on Amazon, not that I'm pimping for Amazon. The Fabric Art Workshop has an interesting format. There are 28 different techniques, um, and they center on creating journal pages. Um,
Oh,
and so there are step-by-step photographs for exploring and executing the techniques. There are 28 of them in there, and each one creates a beautiful journal page. And all the techniques supposedly are easily mastered. Products used are readily available at craft fabric and quilt stores, and they're mainly textile fabric um, pieces that you create using some heat, some sewing, some, it looks like machine embroidery, and then hot textiles is also inspiration and techniques, all using heat tools. And they talk about, there's beautiful pictures, detailed instructions, and they also include health and safety advice. And you learn how you can use such equipment as soldering irons, irons, um, fusible webbing. You can make beads using this heat. You can paint. It's dimensional work. There's embossing powders used and so much more. And you learn how to melt things and use them on your textiles.
wait a minute. I'm hung up on soldering irons. Really?
Yeah, they specifically mentioned it. So I would imagine that you can solder wires into shapes, or
Wow.
you can, it might mean, depending on the fabric, it might mean that a soldering iron can burn specifically patterned holes that other heating techniques can't.
Oh, I do see holes on the cover picture.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So that may be a
Hmm.
soldering iron, it may be cut out, it may be, um, and it looks like there's some wire up near the top where you see that light section that looks like a little mountain, that one. So, um, I think both of these offer information on techniques and materials. I think hot textiles is really seems to go into inspirational messages more. But
You
both
think
of
these
them,
two books are kind of, you think these two books are kind of complementary?
I think in some ways they probably are. I don't think they cover the same things. I think if
Mm-hmm.
this was a Venn diagram, there would be a lot of overlap. But I think depending on what you're looking for, I think they might work together very well and give you the whole picture.
Well, it certainly would open up a whole new world for somebody who's curious about it.
Yes.
Um, Fabric Art Workshop is not available in the EGA's library, but Hot Textiles is. So we've got a 50-50 proposition here.
But both are
So,
readily available on the market.
oh yeah. If I go back, whoops. I don't want to go back to that. I want to go back to this. This book was published in 2007, and Hot Textiles, even more recent. That's a 2018 book.
Wow. Hot
Oh,
off the
yeah.
press.
Yeah. Ha. Yes. So if we move on to Crewel Embroidery, Carol Currier is our uh, Crewel embroidery person in this lightning round, and Trio is the piece that is specifically on the lightning round. But one of her other pieces is Bokeh Blossoms, and we're doing this one in the region. And I got permission from Karen Mireles. She's almost finished. She has just some buds to put in here and the leaves, and this will be a finish. And Kathy Peters, she has a few buds. She said she was going to add a few more. And then she too just has the leaves. So both of them are coming rapidly up to a finish. And I believe both of them intend to send them in for evaluation, which is awesome.
They're beautiful.
So, oh yeah. This has been an interesting piece for everybody to work. There was a lot of discussion on this is Appleton wool, a lot of discussion on which shades of Appleton wool to use. There's a little bit of metallic in here. There's some beads you can barely see here in Karen's. There's some beads here in the centers of the flowers. Um, I'm not sure if Kathy has added those beads yet. So, it's not just Crewel. And in this piece, I think you're going to find this also will be a fun piece to do. I see some different stitches in the centers of each of these. So for books, though, one of the books that Carol recommended is an older book. And as I went through it, I know why I kept it. I'm not a Crewel embroidery person, but I know why I kept it. This is a book that was printed by Dover back in 1974. Sometimes there's a reason why books hang around for years. And you can see that Marion Nichols, the author of this, has actually classified the different kinds of Crewel embroidery stitches. So if you're looking for a specific type, if you're looking for knotted stitches, you know exactly where to turn to. Then here's some back stitches. But what I really like about this is over here, it's almost like she's got a little sampler mapped out for you. That if you wanted to do those stitches in a little sampler, she's got it all laid out for you. So these are some back stitches that she'll be discussing. And notice she said these are in progression of difficulty. So the seed stitches would be the easiest, and you get all the way down to the very last one, the chevron, the raised zigzag stem, which would be the most difficult. So if we look at the pages, again, like Ina said, some of these older books don't have any color in them, but I don't think in this case it detracts from it because you can clearly see how the stitch is executed. She even gives you a second method for it. So we've got a description of how to do it as well as the ABCs, literally. And then later in the book, the chain stitches. Who knew there were this many different chain stitches? Look at all of this. And again, she's got a sampler all laid out for you if you wanted to just do a sampler just of chain stitches. And here's her list. Again, it's in order of difficulty. And here's something else I like. Look at this. It takes a basic rhythm, is going to be up, loop down and around, down and up. And she's got a little teeny tiny diagram here. And if we take a look at the next pages, this is interesting. I've never seen anybody talk about the rhythm of a stitch. Have you, Ina?
No, although I know stitchers talk about the rhythm all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with Hardinger, it's like 4 threads, 5, then you change your direction to make your cluster blocks. And I
Yeah.
do like, and four-sided stitch is another one that's very rhythmic.
Yes.
And so, but I've never seen, well, I mean, teachers in classes, yes, but I've never seen a book that really has emphasized that.
Yeah, we talk about it, but this is the first time I've actually seen it or noticed that it's actually mentioned specifically in a book, which
Hmm.
I really appreciate that. So, and then here she's got her dreaded knotted stitches. And I
Oh, yeah.
say dreaded. Look at this. She considers the French knot to be the least difficult.
Well, I must say, compared to
I
some others, I agree. Knotting is, ugh.
Yeah, a lot of people choke at the thought of doing a French knot correctly. But if you are into knots, look at this. I mean, there's so many different ways you could put together a sampler that has just knotted stitches. So this is actually a very cool book, and I can see why it's still around after all these years, even though it's been published since '74.
It sits on my
Another,
shelf.
uh-huh. Don't you? Well, I'm going to show this next book, but I think you have one of the other books. This one, by the way, is in EGA's library, as is this one. Now, this is an updated version. Um, Mary Thomas has a lot of embroidery stitches that is just talk about iconic. We'll probably come back
Mhm.
to this book, but look
Well,
at all of these stitches.
books that are printed and reprinted and updated are usually done so. It happens because the basic book is so good. But again, techniques change in publishing, so we can add more color cheaply, we can digitize things, and we don't necessarily have to go with blurry, faded, black and white photos of things and
Oh,
handwritten
and
diagrams.
she's got all kinds of color in
Yes.
here. Now the directions are a little different, but she has fashioned this, and we'll show the original Mary Thomas book in a little bit. But I put all kinds of markers in here because I couldn't stop going through here going, yeah, this is cool. This is cool. If you want to do a little bit of lace, we've got some
Ah,
directions here.
yeah.
Um, yeah, as I kept going back in this, she's even got some canvas stitches in here. So Mary Thomas, her original book was published back in the 1930s, but
Yes.
we still use them today, and this is just an
Ooh.
updated version, cut and drawn stitches. And then the very last section that I marked was the pulled fabric stitches. So it looks like we have some kind of pulled stitches back in here too.
Uh-huh.
So, but and I'm going to switch over because there were a couple of other books that Carol had recommended that neither one of us has on our shelves, but yet they are classics.
Oh, I have heritage embroidery. I just don't have it here with me. And
Oh,
it is
okay.
beautiful and it's inspirational. I don't think there's a whole lot of color, but I believe there's several sections of color plates. And it
Well,
just is a little bit of history, a little bit of projects, uh, photographs of pieces, and it's fabulous. It's a great basic reference book.
well, this one, the Elsa Williams book was published back in 1967. It's an oldie but a goodie. Mildred Davis's book was published back in 1975. Both of these, plus the first one that I showed by Marion Nichols that talked about the rhythm of the stitch, all three are available in EGA's library. So moving along, Canvas and Stumpwork, which actually takes us to Diane Herrmann's brand new group correspondence course. I love the name, Showing Your Roots. You can take that however you want. Um, but you've got a little bit of stump work in here. You can see it with the leaves being three-dimensional. And you've got all kinds of stitches. If you don't know Diane's work, she is the one who came up with Walking the Water's Edge. Got bullion knot for a starfish down here. I know some people copped out and just found an actual starfish to put on here. if you're not finished, if you're not familiar with stump work, here is a prime example of it. I actually did this in a class, not quite finished, but almost there. But you can see how three-dimensional the pumpkin is going to be once I stick it into the fabric. We've got the cauliflower. You can tell how it is hanging above the fabric. Same thing with those carrots. And I've got a few other things to do. That's a little teeny tiny shell on that snail. That was
Oh,
included in the class, which was pretty cool.
yeah.
If we were to talk about a couple of the books that Diane suggested, one of them is this one. Obviously, I have this book, but when I finally revisited it and looked at it again, this is published in 1995. Look at all the little pages that I have flagged. Look at all these. You know, there is not just a bullion knot. There's a gazillion bullion knots. And what can you do with them? All kinds of things. So you can make a rose. You can make animals. Here's a beehive out of bullion knots. Here's a frog out of bullion knots. And then we have a snowman out of bullion knots. Flowers. Now, these are specific to Australia because I don't know if, well, we might have a bottle brush, but I don't know that we have a gum nut. But these, again, are done using bullion knots of all things. And what about apples? These are all used doing it with bullion knots. So, and this book is available in EGA's library. Then another one that Diane recommended was also from Inspirations magazine, the A to Z of Stumpwork. Now I pointed out the leaves that Diane had in her piece, but look at some of these stitches. This is what I really love about Inspirations because it shows you pictorially step by step. So if you learn better by pictures, you've got them. If you learn better by directions, you've got them. Got the best of both worlds. This book was published in 2014, so it's a relatively recent one. Then it goes into padding, how you can pad with felt, how you can pad with fiberfill. I did this just recently. I had to make an opening that was 5 millimeters and then stuff it with some roving. That was interesting. Then we have a staple of
Stumpwork.
stump work, and
Mhm.
that's using a couching wire. So they show you how to couch it down. And then after you couch it down, then you start filling it in. They've got all kinds of things in here. And then the last thing I did, there are projects in here. And this, look at this. How cool is that? That would have had wires to begin life.
Mhm. I think the flower would too. The
Pointers.
petals on the flower.
So, and this too is available in EGA's library. The other book that Diane suggested is heavy, and I mean in weight. This is Jane Nicholas's complete book of stumpwork embroidery, and boy, she's not kidding when she says it is complete. And it is a hardbound book. Look at all of this. There's eye candy in here.
Hmm.
If you've ever taken a class with Jane, you'll know that you'll come away thinking, yes, I can do everything. I can do it all. So she
Yeah.
talks about fabric and threads. She talks about the padded shapes. She talks about, well, how you can do different individual elements. So this is an acorn. Now notice this too is not in color. This was published in 2005, but yet there's no color in here. It's primarily black and white, although I think there are color plates, and I think I've got some of them marked. Here you get an idea of how to use that wire. And yes, we do have color plates. So instead of having them on individual pages, she has different plates available in here so you can see. Yeah. She's really good with bugs. I'm not. The first time I did a bug in her class, my bug wound up looking like it was dive bombing the flower that was beneath it. It was pretty, yeah, it still looks like it's dive bombing. So we've got the color plates, which kind of helps. Look at the grapes. Aren't those grapes awesome?
Hmm.
I went through this book and I just couldn't stop looking at the different pages. I'm not going to thumb through everything. Then she's got needlework accessories that you can do. So there's all kinds of things. You can even do a little name tag.
There you go.
So great book. The sad thing is, I could not find this one in EGA's library.
No. Oh, if
Really?
if you have only one book and you want inspiration as well as really good instructions, as well as if you just want to sip through, flip through while you're sipping coffee, is what I was thinking, or tea. This is the book for you. But you're right; it's probably an inch and a half thick, and
Hmm.
you can also use it to work out.
You can. I mean, look at the thickness of that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It's at least an inch thick, very heavy duty paper, which makes the heft of this quite a bit. It's not to say that EGA doesn't have any Jane Nicholas books in it in their library. They do. They just don't have this particular one. We may have to make something happen about that.
Well, now one thing I understand is that that is a reprint of two of her earlier books.
Oh, really?
Yes, because when I took a class with her, I realized I had this one. And when I was going through the two other books that I was going to take with me to have her sign, um,
Yeah.
I realized that there were a lot of projects in common. And basically, I don't remember what the smaller version is, but it also, I think, has a blue cover. But she said, these two, this is contained in here. And I said, yeah, but some of the
Oh,
pictures, the photographs were better adjusted in one or the other. And I don't remember now which, because, we're talking 2012 when I took the class with her.
I wonder if she says anything in here about this being a combination of two previous books. I'm kind of thumbing through here, and
So I'm wondering if that's the reason they don't have it in the library, is that they have the earlier versions.
I'm not seeing anything about it. And just glancing through here, I'm not seeing anything. That's
Okay.
interesting. I did not know that.
So when I
The
get
things you
home to
learn.
my shelves, I will have to look it up and see. And maybe I'll
Yeah,
I'll let you
yeah,
know. I'll
yeah.
update
Let
you.
us know.
Yeah.
Well, moving along, we're almost coming to an end. So we've taken a look at some of the books that Diane recommended, but then we get to the iconic books, the ones that probably reside in most serious embroiderers' library. And the first one is by this lady, Therese de Delmont. I looked her up because in her books, you never see any information about her. So it turns out she was the youngest of five children. She was born in 1846 in what is now northeastern Austria, about 31 miles south of Vienna. So she's not French. Her last name was Dillmann, Dillmann, not Dillmont. She and her sister had opened an embroidery studio in Vienna, and it's thought that they sold embroidery supplies and possibly offered basic needlework instruction. According to DMC, she moved to Dornach, which is a town close to Mulhouse in the Alsace region of France, in 1884. And there she founded her own embroidery school in close cooperation with DMC that same year. It seems to have been at this point she decided to use Dillmann for her last name instead of von Dillmann, which is what her real name had been. Apparently, she made that choice because the social and cultural inclination at the time was more Parisian than German. So that's according to one account. She initially wrote several albums about popular needlework techniques and how to work them before publishing her first encyclopedia of needlework back in 1886. She died in Baden-Baden in 1890, and that book has just, talk about a legacy.
Yeah.
That book has just gone on and on and on.
Yep.
And this is my copy of it. It's small. There's my hand. Look how small that sucker is. It's not very big. I understand that uh, what I am missing is this particular edition came with a slipcover. I do not have the slipcover. And I didn't put sticky notes in it because the pages are a little fragile, but it did have some color plates in it. So we've got a section on plain sewing, pages very thin. So I have to be careful when I'm going through it. Here's a section on Holbein embroidery. And what is really interesting is this has a ribbon in it that I can use to mark a page. Let's see what page I marked. Oh, open work on linen. That's the page that I have marked. And you can see she's got directions. This has been used for, obviously, for way over 100 years, almost 150 years. And the last section that I marked, needle made lace.
Mm-hmm.
So it has some color in it, but very few plates, because that would have made that an extraordinarily expensive book, as well as more difficult to put together because you've got these color plates that have to go in. Oh, I do have another one. Yeah, in the very back of the one is the table of contents. Instead of that being at the front,
How
it's
unusual.
at the very back. Yeah. And I looked at both the front and the back to see if I could find a copyright date or printing date for this particular edition. And there is no date on it at all.
Hmm.
I just know this one is probably the turn of the century, the 20th century. So
I
at
have
least
a
you can,
reprinted edition, and
yeah.
I don't have it with me again, but mine's a little more, I think it's sort of a more regular book size.
Mm-hmm.
And it is one of the best overall general needlework books because they do have them. She's got, you notice she had everything from plain sewing to needle lace.
Yeah,
So
she did.
a deep breadth of technique, and there's a lot of text also, more text than our modern eyes are used to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's also this particular one though is look at the knitting. I mean, this would make me go cross-eyed.
Yes,
Really, I mean, it's all scrunched together. She's even got tatting in here, fillet lace.
there's
Yeah,
everything.
there is. I mean, talk about an encyclopedia. Then we have this book, Mary Thomas's Dictionary of Embroidery Stitches. Now, this is not the original cover. This is a reprint by Batsford. Um, so it's been modernized, at least as far as the cover is concerned. And this kind of gives you an idea of what it looks like inside. And again, it's going to be black and white. They may have reprinted it, but they really did not change anything on the inside. So she's got a little sampler, and she's identified the stitches and given the page numbers of where you'll find those stitches. But notice that she points to a starting place, but she doesn't really give you, here's a place where she's actually told you ABC, but up here, no.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to puzzle some things out. But this is the way a lot of these books looked at the time.
Mm-hmm.
This book, yeah, and here we go. Here's another one. These, she's got the first row, A, B, C, D, E, because that's a more complex stitch. There's a Rococo, which we know as the Queen stitch. And there we go. But this book is not in EGA's library.
Hmm.
But this was often deemed to be sort of one of a pair because the other one is her embroidery book. This one is in EGA's library. And this one has a slightly different slant because it is talking about the different kinds of embroideries as opposed to the stitches. So you can
Okay.
see she's covered a lot. Yeah, I think there's another page to the table of contents. Yes, there is. Look at that. And it looks like she's got it organized alphabetically. So if I turn to, here we go, cords, fringes, and tassels. So it looks like we weren't the first ones to start doing twisted cords. And then the other one that I flagged was hard on her. So she's got the basics in here. So this is her embroidery book, also dating back to the mid-30s, and it is in EGA's library. Now, this next one, oh, talk about heft. This one, you want to talk about this sucker? This one it's thick and it is
Yeah.
extremely heavy. I could use it as a doorstop. Not that I would.
Well, and there are some people that say you should, but we're not among them. It has a proud place uh on my shelf too. And I bought it long before I thought it would be useful based on what some guild members had talked about. And when I found it, and it was getting rare even 30 years ago. And when I found
Mhm.
it in a little used bookstore on in Washington State on one of the islands, I didn't hesitate. I grabbed it.
Yeah, because at one time, weren't some people who really knew what they had asking for over $100?
Yeah, and so I thought it was a real bargain at 35 or 45 or whatever.
Yeah, notice she talks about having color plates in here too. I just bookmarked a couple because her approach, or their approach rather, because this is two people. Here's one of the color plates.
Mhm.
I just love the Berlin woolwork samplers. Look at that.
So
There's a lot of stuff going on.
the one thing that strikes me whenever you have a book from the 70s in color is how the color palette has changed and how dated that 70s color palette that was in all our homes and everywhere has just it stands out.
At least she didn't use Harvest Gold and Avocado Green.
Yes, there was some in that one, but yeah, I mean, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, this one dates back to 1973 for the copyright,
Yeah.
but not a lot of books at that point. You've already seen Mary Thomas's. Look how she's got the weave of the canvas on here.
Hmm.
And she's showing that she's got the stitches, or they have the stitches numbered, and they've used shading. And down here at the bottom, you get an idea of what the stitch is supposed to look like. So the stitch diagram was in color, kinda, but the photograph is not. But I like this. Look at that. Sourcing it.
Hmm.
And then we got another one marked here. And again, black and white pictures. And then there's a stitch for you.
Wow.
Yeah. And then she's got her photograph at the bottom. And again, information that is really interesting. And then we have to have, of course, our various Bargellos,
Yes.
Hungarian stitch, Irish stitch, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she's got a few pages about it. Here's another pattern. And then we go to pulled, I find this interesting, pulled yarn.
Hmm.
Not pulled thread, but pulled yarn.
Hmm. That's a lovely pillow.
Yeah. So we've got pulled thread stitches in here. Notice I called it pulled thread, not pulled yarn. Then we have another classic.
Yes,
By the way, the Pageant of Patterns, this book is in EGA's library.
as it should be. Okay, we approve.
Yep. And so is this one. I saw it last week on their shelves. I was down there. But Carolyn Ambuter has a totally different approach because when we think of pulled thread, we ordinarily do not think of canvas. When we do needle weaving, we don't think of canvas. Hem stitching, we don't think of canvas. Reticella and heddebo, we don't think of canvas. Nor hardanger, we normally do that on linen. And fillet work, same thing. But yet here Carolyn Ambuter comes along and she's applying all of these techniques to a canvas ground, which I found fascinating back in the day. And this was published back in 1982. So she has, and I got to turn the book here. Look at that piece.
The
That
nice
has,
thing,
go
the
ahead.
nice thing about a black and white photograph is that you can fill in your own color and your own color sense and palette that you will enjoy the most.
And you can see the contrast.
Yes.
Yeah. What I like here, she's got the photograph of the finished piece, but she also has the drawing telling you what she put and where. So she's identified her stitches
Nice.
and the fibers that she used for this particular piece. And it's charted. So you don't have to worry about trying to draw it out. And frankly, the publisher didn't have to make a big oversized piece of paper with a line drawing because they could chart it. And then we have, yeah, here are her diagrams, her stitch diagrams. They're not numbered, but she has a word description of how to do it. Then we have, here's her pulled thread section. And then we have, I just cannot imagine doing that on a canvas.
No,
I
but
remember, go ahead.
well, I was going to say, I mean, you could easily do this on linen or any
Oh,
ground
yeah.
fabric.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's the first thing. I mean, so this is very flexible. But I will say, as I am beginning to age, but only beginning, um, I do feel like there is going to be a time when there is not going to be enough magnification for me to do anything on 46 count linen.
Uh-huh.
So I can see that I can get some of my creative urges out. Although I may not have the strength in my hands to pull canvas. We'll see.
Well, I will say this, the first seminar, it was a regional seminar that I got to go to locally. And the first class I ever took was with Joan Masterson, who is a fabulous teacher. And we were doing a pulled thread piece on Congress cloth.
Mhm.
And one of the things that she said about doing this on Congress cloth, now on this particular piece, it's an 18 stitches per inch, so it's an 18 canvas, a
Yeah.
mono canvas. But we were doing this on 24 Congress cloth. And the thing of it that she said was you don't want to pull those threads because they might snap. Instead, we were given a little vial of water and a Q-tip. And she had us dampening the canvas threads to relax the heavy duty sizing that was in it so that we could go ahead and pull it and have a reasonable expectation that the threads weren't going to snap. That's the upside. The downside was that Congress cloth stains easily by water.
Ooh,
So the solution was when you're finished, just get the whole thing wet.
there you go.
Yeah. So again, she's got it, it's all charted out. And here's some of the discussions of the stitches that you can do on it. And then we have a whole color section. So that first one that we saw in black and white, here are the
Mhm.
colors that was actually executed in. There's a bit of a glare there from the light because these are
So in
glossy.
my mind, it was totally different.
Yeah, I didn't expect all those pinks.
Pinks and reds. At least that's what it looks like here.
Yeah, she's got all kinds, all the pieces are in here. This is not to my taste.
No, and that screams 1970.
But there's that drawn thread sampler we just took a look at, and more pinks. She must have really liked pink
See, I
because
liked it
notice,
better in just solid white,
yeah,
but isn't America a great country where I can like it in solid white, someone else can like it in brilliant blue, someone else can like it in pinks?
and our final book of this survey, because that's really what it is this one. This is the third edition. Um, the first edition came out quite a number of years ago. I swear it must have been at least 20 years before she started to update this to the second edition, and then it got updated yet again. This has a date of 2017 for the publication date. And there was an app that went to it, but there were a lot of problems with it. So I don't even have it on my phone anymore. But there's the table of contents.
I have a
And
different edition,
does it,
but
do you have it
it,
with you or is it at home?
no, no, it's
Darn it.
somewhere, that direction or that direction. And that's a background because, well, I'm not near my needlework collection at the moment.
What I find interesting about this is some of the tables that she's put in here. So
Yes.
suggested people colors. Look at all of this. So there's some really awesome information that you can get out of this book. It's not always in hard copy. I know some people who had bought the soft copy but it was hard bound, solidly bound. So what they did was they took it to, I think it was Kinko's at the time. Does that
Mhm.
date me? And they had them slice off the binding and actually spiral bound it so
Yes.
that they could easily flip the pages and open them and let them sit flat and open. And she does have sections of color in here with various pieces that have been executed. Are the designs in here? No. They're just examples of what you can do. And then here's what her stitch diagrams look like. Now, notice you've got two different looking ones. That's because I can tell this is from the original book because you've got the real thin lines, and this is from more recent book. So some of the original diagrams are still in here. But all the diagrams, pictures, they're all black and white except for that color section. Kind of like Carolyn Ambuter,
Mhm.
where you had, you know, color pages, but only in a certain section. And then in the very back, here's another one. I do like this where she shows how these can intertwine with each other. Same thing right here, how they can go together to form an overall pattern. So you have a book that
I,
is relatively new that I know Diane liked too.
I do. It's the Embroidery Stitch Bible. There we go. Almost, almost. There we go. There we go. It's the Embroidery Stitch Bible, and it has a variety of techniques in here, and it's filled with color. That's the major difference between this and something like a Mary Thomas or some of the other books that Jana just showed you. Um, and so it's got a lot of eye candy. And the other thing I like about it is that it's very well laid out. So there's, again, by technique, there is a split stitch section. And you see the diagram and you see a beautiful color picture of what the stitch looks like when executed. They have a number of things like even smocking stitches.
Oh,
Yeah. Canvas work, smocking. various and sundry counted thread, stitches for canvas. And they're just, it's a beautiful, beautiful book with great directions, well laid out for me. Um, and that's the thing. I hope that you have enjoyed our little walkthrough books, our little first book talk. I'm sure we'll be doing more. And some of the takeaways are the the best book is the best book for you. And if you are fortunate to have enough shelves, have several books on the technique, because the nice thing is when you get down to using a book, you may find that you like the diagram here, but the instructions are clearer to you in another book. And so that's good. If you have like 2 or 3 reference books to look at, you'll have a better chance of success. And you can see, look, there's the pageant of patterns and some other things. The Carolyn Ambuter
Oh
book is
yeah,
right
Pageant of
there.
Patterns is on your right over there. I see
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yep.
So, uh, and have fun and
I have a
enjoy the
question.
book. Yes,
I have a question for you.
yes,
As a former library, well, you can't say former about a librarian, like you can't say former about a teacher either. We
yep,
all still carry that in our genes, I think.
yes.
How do you organize the books on your shelves? Do you use the Dewey Decimal System, Library of Congress catalog number? Do you organize it by topic? Or do you just throw them up there as you get them, or how they fit?
So yes, to all of the above.
Oh,
Um, it's so most of these would be very close in Dewey Decimal number. So
really?
yes, and I did a piece, a paper when I was in library school, because I thought, okay, needlework library was organizing information or whatever. And I actually spoke, I guess I was a member by then. But EGA was sort of out there. I was a member, but and I remember talking to headquarters and asking how they had what they used to categorize their library.
Oh, yeah.
And so the paper was organizing a single topic library. And I explained what I was going for and what the books were, talked about some of the problems, issues. And I like Dewey, not because it's a great system, not because it's a perfect system, but because it's international. So you can go to libraries anywhere in the world that use Dewey Decimal, and most of them do, and you can find exactly what you're looking for. Um, but that's an aside. So because I have limited shelves and they're different sizes, to a certain extent, books are um, categorized but also by size. So sometimes a very small general embroidery book goes on a very small shelf where, and I think Mary Thomas's, my version is about that size.
Hmm.
But some of the others are much larger and would be on a shelf like the one behind me. This seems to be mostly stitch guides, needlepoint, uh, and other large books. So
Hmm.
um, it's not perfect, but I know where everything is, just about.
So by using a Dewey Decimal System, let's size the books aside.
Okay.
Would that tend to automatically put all the Blackwork books together, all the Canvas workbooks together?
Theoretically, yes, it would. Now, if you're looking at, library records, sometimes there are little slip ups because they may categorize a book like Blackwork belts or Blackwork handbags or Blackwork fashion under fashion rather than Blackwork.
Oh,
So a good library online search system will pull up all of those if you go to Blackwork. And they won't be very far on the shelves typically, but you
okay.
may find one of the like Blackwork's there and Blackwork accessories a shelf down and half a shelf over.
Okay. All right.
It's
Good to know.
it's like I said, not a perfect system. And cataloging is an art as well as a science.
That's true. Having worked with librarians and hearing them talk about MARC records, it's like
Oh yeah.
that's a whole different language.
Oh yeah, I took one cataloging class and it was descriptive cataloging because there's subjective and descriptive, which is more than you need to know. But remember, I'm a librarian. I will always do that. Um,
Yeah.
and the teacher at one point, I got there early and was waiting by the door, and I was the only one as we walked in. And the professor looked at me and said, "So, how's it going?" I said, "Well, funny you should ask." I was talking to my husband, and I said, "If a cataloging job is the only thing available, be prepared for life on the streets." It was
Ooh.
not something I wanted to do, and I wasn't very good at it, and I don't know why. I mean, I'm pretty smart. I had already had a year's worth of, and I'd worked in libraries, but I just couldn't get the art part of cataloging.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it is an art form.
Catalogs, catalogers out there, you have my respect and admiration.
And with that, I think we've come to an end because this was only a peek at the
Yes,
books available. We
we'll be
will have more.
We'll be doing this again. Look for a series of book talks interspersed with other important needlework items. If we missed a book or you have questions about the books in a different technique or something, please leave a message in the comments and, we'll take any comment under advisement for our next few versions.
Just remember, this was not meant to be all encompassing. It's just a snapshot of what's available in those different techniques that are being featured in the lightning rounds that are currently available through the end of August of 2026 this year, in case you're viewing this in 2027.
So this is an overview. It's broad, not that deep. And we will go into more depth in sections as we go forward.
It's going
And
to be
thank
hard to
you.
decide which ones we do.
Uh, that's tomorrow's discussion.
Okay. All right. All right.
Um, but thank you for watching and come back soon. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.